guys, Anna here. Welcome back to Builds with Anna. Today we are in the world of Brindleton Bay, which is the world that came with the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. And the concept for today's build is a coastal starter home. So it's kind of like a small one bedroom, one bathroom, kind of like little boathouse. And I chose to build it on the kind of small boathouse lot that is part of the world. So this one's near the beach. So as you can see, it's kind of like the lot is based on the top of a hill and it kind of slopes down to the beach. So you could walk down to the beach potentially. And I really wanted this house. The concept of this house was to build something that was definitely on a high foundation where I could use a lot of terrain manipulation, which is what we're actually doing currently here, which is where I am just kind of raising terrain and flattening and smoothing just to kind of create these natural kind of slopes and hills surrounding the house. So that's what I've done there. I've just done the basic framework there, which we will go back and fix that. But I then do just skip to the house. So we are now currently doing the roof, which the roofing it came about fairly simple, just a combination of gabled roofs and hipped roofs, which we are seeing here. So this little house is essentially, so the side bump out that you see there, that actually is where the front door and the back door is. And then the main square component that we're seeing of the house, the main square of the house, that is essentially the whole living quarters. So it's an open kitchen, dining and living space. And then there's a bedroom and a bathroom off to the side. And so let's talk a little bit about the Sims that I envisioned living here. So the Sims, the Sim and their cat that live here is her name is Sade Mulligan, and she has her cat Sprinkles, and I believe Sprinkles is a ragdoll, I believe. So anyway, so there's Sade and Sprinkles there, and I believe that, you know, this Sim is potentially an artist, and I can envision her being out on that back deck facing the ocean with her coffee and just being inspired and just, you know, painting and enjoying the scenery and just being by the ocean. It's kind of interesting because being by the beach, I did more feel that maybe this house would be better suited for somebody who had a dog, potentially because you could walk them along the beach and what have you. But this house is very much owned to a cat lover. And I did love that by using the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, I was able to definitely put accents in the house where you could tell that this was very much a home that was loved by a cat lover. And there's little snippets of personality in the build as well. So this house is a starter home. I did have just slightly over 20,000 simoleons. I think as you saw in the beginning, it was about 20,500 simoleons. And I didn't have issues with money. So I really didn't. So this is quite a well-furnished starter home, I would say. And I think that maybe that extra 500 really did impact that. I'm not sure why it gave me an extra, but potentially the pet, I'm not sure. So I'm just choosing doors, and this is what I meant when I said that front side bit had the front door and it has the back. So it's like a little entryway, which I have currently blocked off and put a archway, but we do end up removing that because I just didn't think it was necessary. But the concept in the beginning was quite interesting. I went with a really colourful striped pattern wallpaper inside. So that's the one that came with the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. And I'd never really used it before. And I really liked the green and the beige colour tones in that wallpaper. And that really does help with the light wood tones in this build. And yeah, so now we're moving inside. So we will go back to the outside and finish the landscaping towards the end of the build. But currently we are in the kitchen, we're decorating. So this is the main decorating part of the build, this section here. And we're starting off in the kitchen, very basic kitchen. Not much to it. I don't believe I use very expensive appliances. I think when I start these speed builds, I always start out with cheaper objects and then I go back and I change to make them more expensive where I can, if I can afford it. So this this is the situation here where I like to have a window over a sink. I feel like it looks more prettier, so I just separated those windows. And I used a combination of base game windows and the cats and dogs windows. I didn't want to use too many of the cats and dogs windows as they are more expensive. So the front of the house where you want it to look really attractive, I used the cats and dogs. Yep, so I used the three-seater cats and dogs couch. I thought that was really pretty in this home. The TV is a cheaper TV and I've sized up, which is with a left bracket key. I've done that, so that's really cool. I really liked this little rustic table. It's like I think it's the one that's kind of from the pub, but it actually suits the style of this build. It kind of gave it a little bit of a rustic feel. Okay, so into her bedroom, we've gone with the cats and dogs bed, the double bed, and I've actually not used this swatch before, but I really liked the color. I liked how it brought that, I don't know, that salmon pink into the build, but it also still had the beige and the gold kind of wooden tones to it. So I did jump around a bit in this build. I'm sorry. I decorate pretty much everything all at once. Because it is such a small build, I can do that. Just going around and changing colors. I do this a lot when I'm decorating. I'm not quite sure what color I would like to run with. So quite often I just change. Now, as I said, this is a house that I envision that a cat is living here, Sprinkles, our cat. And but you could if you download this house, if so choose, you can obviously change the furniture around to suit a dog. But it is designed for a cat to live here just purely because I've got the litter box and what have you. But yeah, and the cat tree. So yeah, her bedroom is pretty basic. It's just got that really nice cats and dogs dresser. It's actually a nice little dresser. I don't think I've ever used it, but it's really nice. This buffet table from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, I love. I love its kind of rustic vibe, and I really love this little cat with the plant, the succulent. I thought that was a great object. We had to fit that in somewhere. And I really struggled with plants because it was a coastal themed house, and I didn't want anything to look very modern or cottagey. I feel like a lot of the the plants I tend to use, they tend to fit in those categories. I thought the little cat biscuits underneath the buffet table was kind of cute. Just putting some toys, just cluttering it up. See, at this point, the house is pretty much furnished, but we still have a lot of simoleons. So as you can see, we're just trying to find ways to spend some money. I'm just doing a bit of alt placement here in the kitchen. It's a very basic kitchen. I didn't want to add too much to it. I decided to scoot everything over and add a desk. And this actually prompted me to do this really cute idea with I think they're like drawing sticker cat, they're pets. You can get dog ones as well. Wall decor. And the way that I thought that, and I'm just doing this here, but I placed them strategically so it looks like, that cat is jumping off that bookshelf. The cat is looking, the cat sitting on top of the fridge, and it just gave so much personality to the build. But also it had more, those stickers, they look like an illustration. So because this sim is an artist, my imagination runs wild and says, oh, well, maybe they were drawing those pictures and they, pinned them up. We know that it's actually an object in the game that you can purchase, but to me, that was how I did that bit of storytelling. Just playing around with the colors. I do end up using that green couch. I wanted to bring more of the green into that lounge room. Alrighty, back to the outside. So now we are working on this terrain. And I will be honest with you, this was a hard build for me personally. And I had to get a lot of support from my dear friends over at Twitter. And by the way, if you are on Twitter and you're into The Sims, the Twitter community over in Sims, the Twitter community for The Sims is a wonderful place, and you meet a lot of people who are very like-minded. And I'm over on Twitter at @_corner 418. Definitely pop on over there. It is linked in my bio. But yeah, a very good friend of mine from there. I sent her basically the remnants of the build without the landscaping, and she really motivated me to keep going, because the problem with this lot is I feel that the grass is so green. I just feel like it's like a golf course green, and because it was so close to the beach, I wanted to incorporate some sand so that I could do with the illusion that it was going down to the beach, but it just looked wrong to me. I really had some trouble with this build. But we got there in the end, and I think it turned out really lovely. Okay, so debug fences. A lot of the landscaping is debug, a lot of these objects. Cats and dogs actually has some fairly good debug objects. I really loved this fencing. I did have a really hard time towards the right-hand side of the build, behind where the house is, because of all the terrain paint and because of how close the build was to the edge of the lot. I couldn't get the fence to line up. So if you download this build, please, I do apologize. It doesn't look as neat and precise as I would like on that far side, but it still looks nice. The fencing is still quite nice. And yeah, so this landscaping, I mainly wanted a path that connected to where the mailbox was, to where that beach side entrance is. So where you can see that hill that's going to go down towards the beach. And that's where I've lined my back stairs, the stairs that go from the back door, to line up with theirs, so that the sim, it kind of looks like they go down there and then just down to the beach. So it just naturally guides that way. And then I saw these statues, and I saw the one of the cat. And I think these are the ones that are down in the park area, the center of the build, the square of the world, in Brindleton Bay. So I used the cat one. I thought it was great. They're the little type of accents that I add in that show you this is a home where a cat would live, because it did give me dog vibes. It gave me a vibe that a dog would live here because it was so close to the beach, and taking your dog on the walk for the beach. That's but I had already designed the sim. I'd already made Sade, and I wanted her to, I didn't want to change her personality, so I went with it. So, landscaping was pretty simple. It was essentially a lot of these debug low-laying flowers in that kind of dull green tone. Now, these are the debug ones that come with the pack, and just like hydrangeas and simple flowers like that. Alrighty, I want to touch on this. So I found this debug awning thing, and it's an interesting color. So it's like a brown and white, as you can see. And I just did a lot of alt placing, and I just added it because I thought I had never seen this object in my life. But I don't know, I think it actually works really well. And I really liked how it turned out, and it actually created some some shade and undercover area. And I actually that's where the sitting area is. So there is a sitting area at the front of the build, and then the easel is at the back, in the back corner of that porch. And it's just like a nice little sitting area. And I believe I end up putting like a scratching post, or I think it's a scratching post that I put up there. Yeah, so it kind of implies that maybe potentially she's out there with Sprinkles, which is the cat, by the way. And she's just sitting and relaxing in that space. So I thought that was a nice little way to utilize some of the objects in Debug, which, when you're doing a starter home, you need to save money. So that's why all of this is Debug all of this landscaping because I did still have 961 simoleons, but I wanted to save that so that I could decorate those veranda areas. All right, so again, a lot of hydrangeas, a lot of ley-lying flowers, and we just mix the combination of the blue with the white and the pink, and we just blend it in. We just followed around. I do end up changing those cats and dogs succulent type plants. I don't know what they are. The ones that are where that cat statue is. We do end up changing those to the daisies, I believe. I just didn't like how they looked. I also lined all of the kind of faux garden beds with rocks, and I thought it looked really appealing as well. It kind of just made it look a little bit more, I don't know, realistic. So yeah, here I am just deleting those, just going in with those daisies. And again, I went with a lighter tone because I would normally use the darker tone because I think it looks better in the darker tone, but the lighter tone kind of blended better with the other landscaping in the build. So yeah, just as I said, going on with the landscaping. So this is that back corner where I had all sorts of issues with the fence. So I just end up laying the lay-lowing flowers all lining down here because this is not really a place where your sim would walk. But I really just wanted to clutter up this space. It ends up being one of those starter homes that I think I've never used this much landscaping in a starter home. But I just think it looks absolutely phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed how this turned out. I think that it definitely, it was interesting because I wanted, as you can see, the fence here. This is the issue I was talking about. It definitely gave you that vibe where you think it would be a little bit perhaps more minimal because it's heading down to the beach. But when you look at the surrounding area of this home, this lot, it still looks like it's kind of tucked in with a lot of greenery around. So I thought it would be valid. But my initial plan was to make it a little bit more minimal. But in the end, because I was just having so many issues with how stark green that, how bright green, sorry, that grass was, I just wanted to cover it. So up the landscaping and moving on to the small porch decorations that I mentioned to earlier. So I created this little space under that debug shade cloth object. And I wanted a space where, as I said, this sim could sit and have her coffee and just be with her cat Sprinkles. I did put a scratching post in the end. And then I found these barrel flower objects from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack that I thought they were quite nice also. And we were at the stage where I was just cluttering. I did have a couple of simoleons left, and I put an easel at the back there, like I mentioned earlier, to face the ocean. Because I did believe she was a sim that would be into art. I thought the cat doormat was actually so cute. And that really is reinforcing that idea that this is a house that cats rule this house. Alrighty, so just to kind of use up the money, we find this Cats and Dogs little, I think it's a veterinary rug. But it works. We're down to one simoleon, and that's the build. So I really hope you enjoyed today's build. We are just going through the tour, just having a quick look around what we've built. As we know, we do this with my builds, where we just kind of recap what we built today. And I really enjoyed this one. I had my doubts, but I think in the end, the finished product was really solid, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.